Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Episode 8, The Ocho, of FTL Radio. I'm your host, Chris, and with me on the line always is Jacob. How you doing there, Jacob?
I am miserable.
Miserable. Why are you miserable today?
Because I went to the gym today, and I have just started going back to the gym again after a year hiatus. And I thought this kind of... I took a class, and I was excited because, a class is the cheap way to get a personal trainer. And I don't know how much a personal trainer costs for you at your gym, but at my gym, a personal trainer starts at $85 an hour if you buy like 50 sessions.
Wow, that's the cheapest end of it.
Yeah, it's bullshit. So anyway, I took a class and I was like, oh, cool class. I'm in a small environment. There's an actual trained person here. They'll guide me through the workout. Except the workout was nothing like I thought it was going to be. And I'm a really big dude. Like, I think I probably was double the size of some of the people in that room.
Ouch.
Yeah, and just, like, my knees don't hold up like that.
Yeah.
And this was a lot of, like, let's crouch down so that your legs are, make a perfect, right angle. And hold yourself there. Now lift and down and up and down. And I'm like, my knees don't do this.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a... You need to ease into it.
Yeah. So I'm miserable. And it was a lot of core workouts. My lower back hurts. I'm sure I'll appreciate it, but not right now.
Yeah, right now is the painful stage, and actually tomorrow's probably going to be the painful stage too, and the day after that. But then again, anyway, that has nothing to do with science fiction, which is why we're here.
Yes. Let's talk about something happy, because I am not happy. So we reviewed, in one of our first episodes, we reviewed Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yes, we did.
And we liked it, right?
Yeah, I was very fond of the movie. Very good. I think they took some characters that are obscure to even comic book readers and made them mainstream names.
Yeah, now, before we get into the news, who's the dude with all the drawings all over his body?
Oh, God.
Drax? Is it Drax?
Yeah, Drax the Destroyer, yeah.
So I heard a rumor today that he's going to be in Avengers 3.
Oh, nice. I loved his character. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I read a story a couple weeks ago that was something along the lines of, about a guy who had an autistic brother who he took him to see the movie, and the kid fell in love with that character.
Yeah, and the background is that character does not understand, I guess, what would the word for it be?
Metaphors?
Yeah, metaphors. Anything that is not literal. He takes everything very literally, like, oh, well, don't say a metaphor, it'll go right over his head. Nothing goes over my head. I have too quick reflexes, I would catch it.
Exactly, So this kid was enamored, and basically the kid was like, oh, wow, look, I can be a superhero too. So it was a cute little story. Anyway, so Guardians of the Galaxy is awesome. Do you want to know what I don't think is awesome?
What's not awesome?
DC Comics trying to copy Marvel.
Yeah... I heard about this.
So, apparently DC Comics is planning on making its own Guardians of the Galaxy. And the comic they're going to use is Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that.
So, Legion of Superheroes is a comic that originated in the Superboy comic book in 1958. So this is Superboy, which is like teenage Superman.
Okay.
So anyway, I guess the idea is that in the 30th century, the cosmos was protected by a team of teenage superheroes, each hailing from a different planet. Eventually, pretty much, Superman and Supergirl began time traveling to the future to go on adventures with the group.
This sounds, why?
Well, because it takes place in space and... big group of superheroes.
It is sort of the same formula of a pretty obscure DC comic book being thrust into the mainstream. Now, are there plans to actually make this a movie, or is this sort of just being shopped around right now?
I'm pretty sure it will be. DC, if you're DC, you have to look at it and go, holy crap, Marvel is making so much money.
Yeah, but DC hasn't been on the same warpath as Marvel has. I mean, that doesn't mean they're not going to, but... You know,
All right.
they have the Dark Knight franchise, and they have
They have
the
Superman.
But Superman,
They tried the Green Lantern.
Yeah, they tried. Is the operating word there.
But Fox has tried X-Men and has done good and then done bad. Some company, what's it called? Oh yeah, Sony, otherwise known as Shitty Sony. They did, they've done a few Spider-Man movies that get worse and worse each time. So, look, DC might be able to pull it together, but basically, it's interesting. One of the things I found interesting about this comic, I spent a little time researching it today, was there is a member of the team named Karate Kid. And that's
Daniel-san.
Well, it's interesting. So he's a kid from Earth who goes on to fight with them. But did you know? And this is something I just learned today, that the producers of that film had to get permission from DC Comics to use that name.
Wow. So Legion of Superheroes precedes Daniel-san.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And if you notice, there's a little mention in the credits that the name was owned by DC.
I did. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't notice that, but that's kind of ridiculous.
So
I wonder if anyone sweeps the leg. That would make me really happy.
Or waxes on and waxes off.
Sweep the leg, Supergirl.
So anyway, I mean, the only thing that makes this really stupid is this team is like over a dozen people.
Ooh.
So that's a lot of characters. Like the Avengers was what? 5? 6?
Yeah, something like that. And even Guardians of the Galaxy was just a small core group of characters. I mean, dozens of characters. Now you're getting into X-Men territory when there's like hundreds of X-Men.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, it should be interesting, but I'm not really going to hold my breath for that. And if DC never makes it, I won't lose sleep over it.
It doesn't seem like it's in the path of the DC movies right now. They seem to be going in a darker direction. The Dark Knight, the most recent Superman movie had a very dark tone to it. I just don't see it. And then, the new Ben Affleck Batman coming out soon is going to have a little bit of a darker tone, we think, as well.
What is your opinion on that?
About Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
I'm open to it. I think that guy gets a bad rep.
It's funny. He gets a bad rep, but he's a really good fucking actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, he gets a bad rep, and I'll tell you what movie really kills it for me. There were a few. One was Pearl Harbor, because that was cheesy as hell.
Yeah.
The second was one he made with Jennifer Lopez.
Jiggly.
Yeah, because that was awful.
Yeah, that was just like, we're dating now. This is our dating movie.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are others where he's just a young, stupid person.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he plays incredible roles. Like, he played in Argo, that movie. Like, that was some shit right there. That was an intense role.
I did not see the movie, but I heard great things.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. So yeah, I'm interested about Ben Affleck being Batman.
Yeah, guy gets a bad rep, and I mean, a lot of people say that Daredevil was a crappy movie.
Oh, that's the third one. No, that was a crappy.
Really? I didn't mind it. I liked Daredevil.
It was crappy. No, I'll tell you who I liked. I liked the guy who played Kingpin.
Oh yeah, Duncan. Oh god. Yeah. Forgot his name.
Unfortunately, I think he died, didn't he?
Yeah, he passed away recently from a massive heart attack, I think.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Grand Mile as well. Yeah.
That's another really good actor.
But he was, I mean, and for someone like that to take the role of the Kingpin, who everyone who has ever seen a Marvel comic knows the Kingpin is a gigantic white bald guy, and to like sort of take a different spin on the character was great.
I mean, how different of a spin is it? White dude or black dude? I mean, it's not that different.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit. I guess it's just like the deep, brooding voice and I don't know. It's just he's always been seen as more of a cheesy and less of a badass character.
Okay.
And he was sort of given a badass role in the movie, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool for it,
because the Kingpin he's strong, but he's also very heavy set and fat, and
yeah.
That, oh god, it's gonna bug me right now. What the hell's his name? Michael Clark Duncan, that's it.
Yes.
He was ripped, so.
Was he? I always thought he was big too. Or was he jacked?
He was big, but he's jacked as well.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Moving on, just so that we can stop talking about DC Comics and Ben Affleck or Bennifer or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Well, please don't.
So, What would you say is Keanu Reeves' best movie?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Okay, fine. The Matrix. I'll bite.
I guess that was a leading question.
Party on, dudes.
So, it seems like Keanu Reeves is not done with the what's the word I'm looking for? He's not done with the Matrix kind of story. I think he likes that that virtual reality world, or maybe really real reality. Anyway.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he likes Jesus allegories.
So, Roland Emmerich and Keanu Reeves have teamed up to bring you to that world. So, Roland Emmerich, in case you were curious, is the director of Independence Day and 2012, which was a decent movie. Anyway.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it looks silly to me.
It was silly, but it was also all right.
Okay. But Independence Day I like.
Yeah. And maybe they'll get the second one done in the next 25 years.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Yeah. So anyway, excuse me. They're going to be making a TV show, because we need more TV shows.
Of course.
Titled New Angeles.
Ah.
So what this TV show is said, it's set in the future.
Okay.
And the focus is on a young guy who escapes from his mundane life by eating the pill. Oh wait, wrong show.
Yeah, basically.
Escapes
his mundane life by taking the pill.
Yeah. So basically, he enters a virtual reality world called New Angeles.
Oh. So just change the word New Angeles to Matrix, and you got the Matrix.
He goes into the Matrix, and his life becomes much more exciting because he takes on a new identity, and he becomes the person he was destined to be.
This doesn't sound like the Matrix. This is the Matrix.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm reading from an article about this, so that's why it sounds so cheesy.
Yeah.
So along the way, he begins to unlock the keys to a mystery. Mystery that has consequences in both his virtual and real-world lives. So, this is kind of cool, and also kind of not cool. Cool because it's that virtual reality next step for us. Like, I'm reading a book right now, and I'll give a shout-out to the guys. They're independent writers. It's called The Beam, the book. And it's written by Sean Platt and Johnny B. Truant. And in this book, there's this concept called the beam, which is 2 generations after the internet.
Okay.
You got the internet, and then the mid step is crossbrace, and then the beam. And the beam is literally connected to everything, including the fact that every child, when they're born, is implanted with this chip that allows for connecting to the beam. Like, it's literally you're in a virtual reality while also being in the real world.
That's interesting.
Oh, it's a great book. It's also like 160,000 words long. I'm trying to get through it, and it's fantastic. It's just taking me forever.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, so we'll probably review it at some point, or review the first episode, because they broke it down. Season 1, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They kind of treated it like a TV show. So we'll review it at some point. But anyway, it's kind of that similar, virtual reality-esque kind of thing. So this is, I'm interested to see how this kind of pans out, because it is a different kind of world. It's not aliens, it's not robots. And that's what changes it from Matrix. It's not any of that.
Well, it really is the reverse of the Matrix, because the virtual world was the mundane world.
Exactly.
The crazy shit. Well, crazy shit happened in the virtual world, but whatever. We all know the story of the Matrix.
Yeah. So they hired Greg Hurwitz to write the pilot. He's a well-known, and I'm saying that with quotation marks, you can't see me because this is a podcast. He's a well-known novelist who I've never heard of, who has written 14 books. He's done comics for both Marvel and DC.
Oh, now, okay. Comic book background.
Yeah. Now what gives me a good feeling is he was a consulting producer and writer for the ABC series V. Now we've talked about that a few times.
That keeps coming up.
Yeah, no, V was a really good show that they just canned. Like it had elements like what's it called? It's called a fifth column.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, a fifth column, which is a group of people who undermine a larger group. So those secret rogue people who rebel. It was a good show.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this guy is going to be writing the pilot. And it should be cool. Now, here's the thing. No one knows if Keanu Reeves is actually going to act in this, or if he's just really going. If he just said, "Guys, like,
whoa,
I got a great show," and
he's probably just slapping his name on it just to get it buzz.
Right, yeah. So, I don't know. When we have more information about it, I'll be sure to let everyone know.
I'm curious. I mean, I love The Matrix. I mean, well, the first one. Second one was okay.
You and I should go on a Matrix bender and watch all three in a row.
Yeah.
And just talk about it.
That would actually work because we would need to be drinking and we would be really drunk with the last one, so I could sit through it.
I don't even remember the last one.
Yeah, I was drinking too much.
All I remember about that movie is there's something really fucked up about shoving a big spike in your head.
A little bit.
Like that, I'm sorry, that's just screwed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Some things I try to forget.
Moving right along.
Moving away from Keanu Reeves.
So we have one more bit of news before we get into our bigger topic for tonight, which was going to be Lock-In, but Chris couldn't finish reading.
I'm a slow reader and I had a really crappy week last week.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, the slow reader is the more pertinent thing there.
So hopefully next week, if Chris can finish the book, we will review.
We will review it next week. That is a promise.
So we will review Lock-In. And to the publisher who sent us the book, I promise we're going to review it if you're listening, which you're probably not listening.
But thank you for sending the book if you are. Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying it so far.
So, there is a plane-ish spacecraft being built, which is going to make it possible for the average person to go to space.
These pictures get me really excited. You know how much I love spaceships.
Yeah.
Oh my god, these are so cool.
So, basically what this is it's a big cargo vessel that shoots these spacecraft out of its bay using an electromagnetic space catapult. Now, you're not really in space, you're just in low Earth orbit, which, I mean, it's still kind of like space.
Yeah.
It's just not quite like space.
It's like on the fringe of our atmosphere.
Right. And you pretty much fly around. And you're ejected at about 200 kilometers an hour. And then you can pretty much go up to 600 kilometers an hour. You're pretty much just flying around at wicked frickin' speed.
So I guess the idea of this is by having it in a cargo plane, you sort of get the ability to get close, I guess, to that, so that you don't have as big of a gap or something, instead of launching just from the ground.
Yeah. So the problem it's a fuel thing. Getting all these individual ships up there is really difficult. Mm-hmm. Getting one big ship up there with then little ones inside of it is easier.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So you launch out of this thing, and then the rocket engine starts, and the spaceship, the Series G, which is the little one that you're in, then it propels you to an altitude of 115,000 meters.
And so, how many of these little space pods would fit into one of these aircraft?
I think I read that there are 3.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so then you go up to zero gravity. You kind of experience that, whoa, this is crazy feeling for a few minutes, and then the ship thing flies you back down for a special descent.
Okay.
Now, what I don't really know is, I'm assuming these have pilots, but nothing I've read says that.
Was the cargo or the Series G?
The Series G. I'm assuming it does have a pilot, because I don't think we have unmanned flying. Although we do have unmanned flying. Yeah. I don't think we have unmanned flying for carrying people around. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming it's going to have, pilots. But the concept here is you'll get back within the atmosphere, and then you'll glide to wherever you need to go to land.
Okay.
So
this sort of sounds like a stepping stone for getting people actually into space proper.
Well, we talked about it last week. To get to build a space colony, you need to first get to space on a regular basis.
Yeah.
To build a space colony, people need to love space.
Mm-hmm.
Best way to make people love space is to decrease the cost for them to get to space.
Yeah, absolutely. Exposure.
Now I'm not really one. Well, I am. I would love to go to space, but I know a lot of people would be petrified to go to space.
Yes, in both categories for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be petrified too, but I think if I was given the opportunity, I probably would, so long as it wasn't some long, grueling process of me having to strap in and put on a big spacesuit and XYZ and ABC. Like for them to make space flight commercially available for the average person, there can't be days and days and weeks of training.
Yeah. And right now with the Virgin Galactic, isn't it like $150,000 for a ticket on that thing?
Yeah, I mean, but that's because it's hard as hell to get up there.
Yeah.
And the fuel. And because you always start with something like that ridiculously overpriced because the rich people will pay for it and you can make ridiculous profit.
Mm-hmm.
At some point you've got to get it down to a more reasonable price point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's cool. I hope
at this point these are just drawings and prototypes. Is there any sort of timetable they're talking about for this sort of a service to be offered?
Not that I know of. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. It'll get there when it gets there. But I would be surprised if it's here in 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that this is something we probably see in the early 2020s.
Okay.
Just a gut feeling. I could be wrong. Who the hell knows? Maybe in 5 years, you and I are doing an episode of FTL Radio in space.
Oh, that made me so happy.
So, and we will bring one lucky listener with us.
Sure. Let's make that promise right now.
I like making promises.
I've noticed. Oh man.
So, moving on to our big topic. If you haven't figured out, we like to do it a little bit of news followed by a bigger topic, and the bigger topic tends to devolve to me just ranting and bitching about things.
Yeah, well, and here we go back to Congress and space.
Yeah,
of course. I gotta give it to him. The American Space Technology for Exploring Resource Opportunities in Deep Space, or the Asteroids Act.
Like, come on!
I gotta give them a round of applause for that one. That is excellent.
Yeah,
the Asteroids Act.
So that is H.R. 5063, which was a bill presented in July by Representative Bill Posey, a Republican from Florida, and Representative Derek Kilmer, a Democrat from Washington. Whoa, bipartisanship.
Right, getting along. Space is bigger than your parties.
Yeah. So basically, what they're proposing is that we need to fund this kind of an operation. Well, really, they're not really talking about money. What they're doing is they're trying to grant property rights to companies seeking to mine the asteroid belt.
Yes.
Which really brings up a lot of really crazy legal discussions.
I guess, but then, I mean, it's space. How do you govern something that is ungovernable? It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's sort of a tough thing to enforce.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to turn into the Wild West or the Gold Rush, where, I mean, I could see hundreds of companies trying to fund this thing.
Yeah.
Get to space, because really, if you think about it, you find one really good asteroid, like average size of asteroid,
Yeah. I mean, it could be ripe with rich minerals and stuff that, frankly, are considered precious materials here on Earth could be abundant in space.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're going to mine them, yeah, no, totally, and that's what makes this interesting. But here's something that annoyed the hell out of me.
Okay.
A NASA, I want to say it was a NASA guy that pretty much came out and said, this is a bad idea. because
Bad idea.
it's never going to happen. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not a NASA guy, but it was this guy who came out and said this is never going to happen, and it's beyond the scope of private enterprise. Now, basically what he's saying is if we're going to do this, we need to invest billions and billions of dollars in NASA to do it. And I'm like, you're really just looking for money.
Now, we've had this conversation many, many times in the past about how lacking in funding our space exploration, and we actually had the conversation of the deep sea exploration. I mean, the government doesn't want to be shelling out for this stuff. The biggest, we're spending the most money right now on defense contracts.
No, it's true. But, what's interesting is we're going to run out of resources. I mean...
Yeah.
Like, we're going to. So
it's not if, it's when.
Right. So finding another place to get these resources is important. So I'm a big fan of this. There's Google is investing in this, I believe. They have I talked about this a couple times at this point. So James Cameron, Google CEO Larry Page are doing this where they'll send these ships into space and they will strip an asteroid of its resources and then go, yay, we've got resources, and bring it back to Earth.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Now, they say, they said they would be launching the first in a series of private telescopes that would search for rich asteroid targets 18 to 24 months from now, 2 years ago.
Huh.
So I don't think it's going to happen. It's a really tough project.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the scope of it is pretty big. I mean, you can kind of see, and actually the guy's name is Mark Sykes, the naysayer, the director of Planetary Science Institute and co-investigator on the NASA Dawn mission of Vesta and Ceres. Anyway, he's the naysayer here. You can, I guess the point that he's trying to say is that this requires more money than the private sector has to devote to this. I mean, is his opinion in this situation going to have an impact on this Asteroids Act?
Well, no, because what the Asteroids Act is trying to do is allow businesses to have property rights to these asteroids. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is going to be very funny when, mining ship goes to the asteroid belt and boom, there's a big alien ship. And the human goes, but this is my property, and the alien goes, and this is my 400-foot long gun.
Yeah, I don't acknowledge your property.
But anyway, so their idea is they want to allow these companies to do this. They want to give guarantees to the companies that if they find an asteroid, the asteroid's theirs, mm-hmm. and go with that. It's look. If rich dudes who are worth billions and billions of dollars want to invest their money in this, who am I to say no?
Well, I think he's dead wrong because based on our conversations from the past couple of weeks, NASA's not going to spend the money in a timely fashion to get this done. But right. Private enterprise that sees minerals up in the sky and sees the cha-ching dollar signs that go with them, they're going to spend some money and invest in it. And are they going to succeed? Well, not all of them will. Maybe all of them will fail collectively, but they'll all make progress towards achieving the goal of getting up there and getting this done.
Right, exactly. And when you're talking trillions of dollars in resources,
yeah,
like we're not talking millions, we're not talking billions, we're talking trillions. Mm-hmm. I mean, and really, we might be talking hundreds of trillions of dollars.
Sure.
I mean, who the hell knows how much is up there? I mean, there are so many asteroids.
I think, like space, it can be assumed, at least for our comprehension, that there is an infinite, Well,
I don't know. I did a Google search, average size of asteroids.
Okay.
And here's the little blurb that comes up. Asteroids range in size from Ceres, the largest, at about 590 miles in diameter, and also identified as a dwarf planet, to bodies that are less than 0.6 miles across. The total mass of all the asteroids combined is less than that of Earth's moon.
And is that just all discovered asteroids, or are they saying that those are all the asteroids that there are?
I mean, it can't be all the asteroids that there are.
And that's sort of what I'm saying. I mean, we may have a finite number in our view, but who the hell knows what's out there? Space is infinite, so who knows what the asteroid supply could be?
Exactly. I mean, the asteroid belt is believed to have between 1.1 and 1.9 million asteroids larger than zero point 0.6 miles in diameter,
Okay.
and millions of ones that are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's a lot of asteroids.
Yeah, that's a ton, and that's definitely plenty of a start.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fine. Now, what's interesting is I've never really understood. No, I guess it doesn't really make a difference. You know, like, one of my concerns about, anything to do on Earth really is, how does this mess up the ecosystem? You know, like
Introducing alien minerals to
No.
ecosystem, or what are you saying?
No. What I'm saying is, so how does, like, if we mine for oil, if we mine for, drill for oil, that impacts X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
If we start taking asteroids out of the belt, what does that do?
Well, but can space be considered an ecosystem when there's no life that we've observed?
No, not thinking about it as an ecosystem, but what if, those asteroids are responsible for keeping the outer planets in I mean, look, and I have no idea. This is probably wrong.
No, this is all speculative stuff.
But,
it's the same way the moon is such a beneficial part of our orbit. It's
Right.
there and it's vital to the existence of our planet.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, here's an interesting factoid. About half the mass of the belt is contained in the 4 largest asteroids:
Oh, wow.
Ceres, Vesta, Pallas, and Hygeia. So Ceres is the largest one, which lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, and it's 590 miles in diameter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
And then the 4th largest one is Hygeia, which is anywhere from 350 to 500 kilometers, and its mass is estimated to be the 2.9% of the total mass of the belt.
Wow.
So we're talking big motherfuckers here.
Yeah.
So I'm cool if companies want to go up there. Like, the very fact that this guy is saying this is not a good idea, private sectors are never going to be able to do it. Like, I shouldn't be mocking him, but I'm mocking him because
Well, it's ignorant.
yeah, like,
I don't know.
Look, could it fail? Absolutely. Is it likely to fail? Absolutely. But the government is not exactly opening up the wallet right now for NASA.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, oh, we need to do this for NASA, say, well, realistically, NASA's not going to do it, so,
Well, or instead of keeping them entirely separate, work with. If
Yeah.
you want to have a hand in the creation of this, work with the private enterprise. I think that, like, I agree with you 100% that this guy saying it's not realistic for the private enterprise clearly has not seen what the private enterprise is capable of.
yeah, I agree, and, like, look, the very fact of the matter is this, and I very much believe this: the government tends to create the technology that the private sector makes a lot of money on.
Yes.
And look, I don't care what anyone says. People with their political opinions, bash government intervention and bash government spending. But at the end of the day, we are where we are as a culture, as a society, not because of capitalism. And I'm a capitalist. I love making money. But we are not where we are just because of capitalism.
Stop tapping shit.
Sorry. Tapping my desk.
I know. I can hear it. Everyone can hear it.
We're not, but that's not where we are. We're there because technology was created for the military that was then capitalized on, and that's that. So I'm very much in favor of capitalists trying to make money on this.
Absolutely. And I listen to his testimony and say, well, what's the downside?
People spend a lot of money and they lose.
Yeah, well, that's their decision. How does that
Exactly.
affect him?
Right.
So go shove it up your ass. Anyway, moving right along, more asteroid stuff, or actually more of a comet.
Yeah, so, just to kind of end it, when we were talking last week about making a space colony, one of the things we talked about was the supply chain and making sure that you didn't have to go all the way back to Earth. One of the ways to do that is with mining of asteroids. Another way to do it, to ensure you have water, which you can then turn into hydrogen fuel and all that, is comets. comets are giant ice clusters, and that's why you'll see when a comet is flying closer and closer to the sun, the long tail, because that's all ice melting. So they've picked, and this is NASA, I believe. They've picked where they're going to land the Rosetta's Philae lander on the comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko. So maybe it's a Russian place.
Yeah, this sounds like not NASA.
Yeah. They're going to land a lander on a comet, and this is the first one that's ever been done. Now, granted,
they have a date set, you said, right?
Yeah, November 11th.
That's right around the corner. Yeah,
so they are calling this spot Site J because it's got unique scientific potential and minimum risk to the lander. So it's really interesting because when they land on this, they're really going to be able to do a lot of studies on the comet, on its nucleus, what drives it, things like that.
Well, we'll be able to study what we've never really been able to study before. We'll be able to be on a comet while it's flying through space.
Exactly, which is really, really exciting. And this comet is, 4 kilometers wide. So it's a pretty decently sized comet from an Earth's perspective, but I mean, in space, it's a speck. And, it's really just kind of cool. And it's important, we've spent so much time looking at the moon, but then ditching the moon for so long. This is the next step to getting to Mars.
Yeah.
First it's the moon, then it's asteroids and comets, then it's Mars. So if we understand how these really work and how comets are really going to do their thing and how all that's going to happen, it's really, I'm a big fan. I'm a supporter of this.
Yeah, I mean, back to the previous story we were just talking about. This is sort of, one of the points that I forgot the guy's name already. What was it? Sykes.
Yeah.
One of his naysaying points was that we don't know anything about these. We only know what we've been able to observe from Earth and whatever has landed on Earth. We've never been up there. We've never been on the asteroids. We don't know what we're dealing with. Well, this is sort of by landing on a comet, and granted it's on an asteroid, but we're expanding our knowledge of the unknown.
Exactly.
Which is how we're gonna get up to space. Which is how, as a civilization, as a race, as a species, that we're going to go to the stars, is by understanding more about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, I'm looking forward to this. November 11th is going to be a good day.
Yeah, mark your calendars.
Well, I mean, let's be real here. It's going to land. We're all going to go woohoo, and then we're going to forget about it because it takes time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
it'll
still, for that one moment of woohoo, we'll be like, hey.
Yeah, no, it'll drive around for a while, and then it'll send back data, and that data will be useful for other things.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, thank you all very much for listening into this painful episode of FTL Radio.
Yeah, you sound painful.
I'm going to go jump out my window now. And by that, I just mean I'm going to go to sleep. But I really appreciate, and Chris, I'm sure you do as well, everyone listening. This was the 8th episode. We are on Facebook and Twitter, twitter.com/FTL Radio, facebook.com/FTL Radio. We are on iTunes. You can subscribe. Please leave ratings, 5 stars if you like us. Just don't comment if you don't.
Yeah, and Mama said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, that didn't work for me.
Yeah, I know.
We are on Stitcher. I like Stitcher. Add us to your playlist, all that fun stuff. And if you have any comments, if you are an independent writer, filmmaker, artist, whatever, send us an email, info@ftlradio.com, and maybe we'll be able to review some of your stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love checking out new sci-fi, so anything that you got out there, send it to us. We're interested to see it. Tune in next week. We're going to have a review on Lock-In, the great novel. I promise I'll be done with it by then. I promise. I am such a slow reader, I know, I'm sorry, but I'll be done and I'll have an opinion and I'll tell you all about it.
Without trying to ruin the spoilers, which, try to read the book beforehand. It's out in hardcover, it's out on Kindle, it's out on everything other than paperback.
And it's not a huge book, and it's a fun read. It's interesting stuff, and the whole. I mean, we spoke briefly about the plot, but the whole concept of this whole separate society of people that don't have corporeal bodies that they use on a day-to-day basis is it's very interesting.
Yeah. So pick it up, give it a read, and we will talk about it next week. Thank you very much for listening to the 8th episode of FTL Radio.
And we out.